compatibility. Sometimes it's okay to be like, hey, let's cut our losses. Go find what works. Now that you know what doesn't work, say, hey, is this something that I can work on? Is this something that I can fix? Communication is the number one thing. You got to make sure that you're communicating. What's up, y'all? Cody Allen, and I am here to give you the latest and greatest Fill the Gap episode number 4. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I lose track of it at this point. But yeah, here we're back. We got a new mic set up, and the reason why is because somebody watched one of my YouTube videos and they're like, "Dude, your quality, your audio sucks." And I've always been like, such a fucking stickler when it comes to audio. Audio is like the one thing that I was like, it's got to work every single time, because I can't listen to a fucking podcast if it's continuing to clip, which as I look at this, it's not. The lab mic was just rubbing on my shirt, I think. And I think that was the main reason why a lot of it was muffled. I'd be like looking down or whatever the hell it might be. Either way, speaking of my shirt, I think I'm doing every single one of these. Watch, check it out. I think I'm going to do every single one of these podcasts in a Cut shirt. As you guys know, I'm a Cuts athlete, Cuts partner, Cuts janitor, whatever the hell you want to call it. And so in an indirect way, I guess they kind of sponsor this podcast because I always rock their shit during it. But I always rock their shit during it because I always rock Cuts all the time. That's not why I'm here to talk to you guys. There's something that isn't necessarily, I guess, relevant to my life at this point, but something that I wanted to talk about that is going to be relevant or has been relevant in every single person's life at some point. And that is compatibility. And where to shift your energy and your focus and your angst or your anger or whatever it might be when compatibility just kind of falls through the cracks. Let me give you an example. I played football with hundreds of dudes over my career, and there was always someone, myself included sometimes, that was like, oh, like, coach don't like me, coach don't want this, like, I don't play because of X, Y, and Z, right? And I'll fill you guys in on a little bit like recruiting. So recruiting, coaches show up at your house and they tell you every single reason why you would be a perfect fit for their school. And everything is just all gravy. We'll call it the courtship, the honeymoon phase, right? Everything is just perfect and it is a match made in heaven, and on paper, everything makes sense. This is a lot like a lot of relationships, whether they be romantic, whether they be friendships, whether they be family members. Everything seems good, like it should work on paper at first. And a lot of times, especially in the sport that I played, you go there and after a while, you don't seem like you're a good... There's times in players' careers where it's just, you're not necessarily a good fit. And so, for the most part, if there's a reason why someone's not playing at the next level and they played at the prior level, whether it be high school, college of the pros, it's not always because they're a bad player, right? Sometimes they just don't fit the scheme. Sometimes they just don't fit the style of coaching. Sometimes they just don't suck. That is an unfortunate truth, but is a truth nonetheless. But what I'm trying to say is that in these positions, there are times that you're going to step into, we'll call it a role, and what you thought might be a good position for you and what you thought might be the right side of the ball, offense or defense, turns out that it's just not that. And a lot of times you get upset at yourself. You get upset at your coach. Like, oh, why'd you play me on defense when I should have played offense? Or why am I playing tight end when I should have played receiver? Shit like that, right? You also get upset with the fact that you've kind of committed the next 4 to 5 years of your life, your entire playing career, to this team. And now, in today's day and age, it's a lot fucking different. There's the transfer portal. Guys literally are just getting traded quitting or getting traded just cause. Just because they're like, I don't want to play at Oklahoma anymore. I'm going to be quarterback at USC. Back when I played, it was like, bro, you could not do that. And I think it's good because, like I said, just because you signed up for something when you were 16, 17 years old doesn't mean that it needs to be a life sentence, i.e. the life of your athletic career. How this makes sense to anybody that hasn't played a sport or somebody that has played a sport and is past that now, and why this even matters. Why does it matter that I'm talking about this? Is because this is the same shit. This way of thinking is the same when it comes to relationships. Like I said, romantic, non-romantic, family, friends, whatever it is. Compatibility. So I don't know the love languages, obviously. I don't look like somebody that might know that, right? But what I do know is that there are certain things that certain people need in relationships. And because sometimes one person just can't provide that because that's not how they show love. Does that mean that that boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife is a bad person? It doesn't mean that at all. It just means necessarily that that's not how they show love. And if they can't learn to show love in the way that their partner receives it, or show attention or affection or whatever in the other way that their partner receives it, then I don't know if that makes them a bad person as much as it's like, that's just not who they are as a person. And this happens so much. You get a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years into a relationship and you're like, hey, like, why are we not having sex enough? Why don't you set up dates for us? Why don't you do whatever? Right? And it's like, well, sometimes your wife, that's never been who she is. But if we go back to the recruiting, we go back to the honeymoon phase, we go back to right when you stepped on campus, right when you started dating, a lot of people overlook things initially because they get enamored with the idea of what could be. And this happens in a lot of things in life, but especially like when you're talking about like your career, your job, you're talking about being compatible. Sometimes people fall out of compatibility. Sometimes people were never compatible and you're trying to fit, what do they say? A fucking square into a round hole, square peg into a round hole. I don't know, one of those, but, yeah, this is something that I've fortunately and unfortunately been a part of many times in my life, whether it been my playing career, whether it been my romantic career, whether it been my actual career. And it's like, hey, sometimes things just don't fit. Sometimes things just don't work, and that is okay. But you need to know, let's take it to the field. You need to know if you're okay being a bench player your entire career. If you're not, you need to have a real adult conversation with your coach, with your staff, with your family. Just be like, hey, I don't think this is a good fit for me for one reason or another. And they could agree, unless they want you to be there because you're a good enough backup. They could agree and they're like, hey, yeah, just go do what's best for you because it'll allow us to do what's best for us. These are conversations that I've been horrible at in the past as like a boyfriend, right? There have been times in my life when I was like, oh, this isn't going to work, never was going to work. And just kind of hung around because I couldn't have that tough conversation for one reason or another. And a lot of people avoid those sort of conversations. And so I think it's great to have like an open dialect on both ends because you could go sit down with your coach, you can go sit down with your girlfriend, you can go sit down with your boss and be like, hey, what do you need from me so that I know that I can see if I'm capable of providing that. Do I need to get faster? Do I need to get stronger? Do I need to learn playbook better? Do I need to be more attentive? Do we need to go on more dates? Do we need to go on less dates? Do I need to stay home? Do I need to stop going out? Do I need to be a better performer at work? Do I need to communicate better? The whole thing. There are so many parallels to everything in life. The crazy thing about life is that shit is just on the same spin cycle. Nothing's new. There are so many parallels. There are so many things that are just the exact same. Pick the best football player, might be the best entrepreneur because they're the fucking same, right? Take the best athlete, might be the best husband or wife because They're like, hey, I'm good at dedicating myself completely 100% to something. Now I can do that in a relationship or whatever it might be. Same thing with work and every other avenue you can think of. We just don't think about it that often. We don't think about them as one and the same. And that is the main point of this podcast, is to show you that so much of what I've learned in sports and what everybody else has learned in sports, I'm assuming, because I'm not over here reinventing the wheel, just translates to so many other things in life. And that's what's made me successful in a lot of ways. That's what made me not successful in a lot of ways, because I didn't learn this until I'm 30 now. I'll be 31 in like a couple weeks. So I'm old, I'm washed up. But the whole point of this was basically just to say that compatibility, sometimes it's okay to be like, hey, let's cut our losses and go find what works now that you know what doesn't work. The alternative method or the alternative route is to say, hey, is this something that I can work on? Is this something that I can fix? And to take accountability and be like, hey, can I fix this? Right? Communication is the number one thing. You got to make sure that you're communicating. That's something that I definitely didn't do when I was younger in a lot of facets of my life. And I've learned now as I've gotten older. And then the last thing is like when you get to the point where you have communicated and you get to the point where you have tried to make amends and you tried to stop going out so much or whatever the hell it is, learn the playbook, and it just doesn't work. It is okay to be like, it just didn't work. I've been in relationships in my life where it's like, that she wasn't a bad person. It just didn't work, right? Too often now in today's culture, it's we need to have someone to blame for one reason or another. And it's like, all right, well, why didn't it work? Who did what? Who cheated on who? Who stopped showing up for whatever? It's just, there always needs to be someone to point the finger at. And I think that it would go a long way and there'd be a lot less shame in like a breakup or moving on or whatever. If there just was a lot less finger pointing and a lot more just like, hey, you know what? Just at this point in our lives, for one reason or another, it didn't work out. And you keep that between yourselves. And that also translates over to the work world. You know, sometimes it's like you just didn't have the passion for your job and your boss can't be mad at you because it's like you're showing up every day and it's like you're kind of in a lull. Yeah, you want to go out there and put on your best face and be the best version of whatever at work. But if you don't got it, like I've hired and fired 10 times over, a ton of people, and it all boils down. I've never fired anybody and been like, you didn't do X, Y, and Z. I've been like upset at times, right? Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, I'm like, well, this wasn't your passion. This isn't what you wanted to do. So it's like, I'm not going to sit here and be mad at you or point fingers and be like, this person just didn't do whatever. I think that's important. I think that's important in any sort of situation in your life. And at the end of the day too, I know I've talked, this has been like super, one sec. This has been like super, I won't say negative because I'm trying to take like negative things, make them more positive. But at the end of the day, what I'm really trying to say is that you can ultimately be compatible with communication. I can't tell you how many times, especially when it gets into this like weird power struggle in athletics, because you're younger and you have like a lot of older people, like coaches. And it's like whatever they say goes, right? And that works to an extent, but it's like, I know that there are some guys who were very successful in the teams that I played on, and it's because they were very mature, very much older, and voiced their concerns, they communicated extremely well with the coaching staff. I won't name a name, but one of my friends to this day, we went golfing like, it was like 3-4 months ago. He walked on campus. He was a transfer. And he was like this person that you could tell, and it's funny because he's still this man to the day, that he could tell like if he had an issue, he was going to address it with you. And maybe he was just fucking raised well. I don't know what it was. But if he had a concern, or if you had a concern, he didn't like no passive aggressive, like whatever stuff. He's just like, yeah, like we need to take care of this. Let's sit down and hash it out. And that's how my buddy still operates to this day. Love him to death for it. He's a good ass dude. And back when you're younger, you look at him and you aspire to kind of be like that. And you're like, damn, I wish I was more like that. And that's something that I've looked at my entire life. It's something that works, and I've seen him grow and flourish. It's worked well for him in a lot of ways, like on a lot of avenues in life, right? He's a great businessman, great husband, great son. And he knows he was a great football player, and he knows certain things I'm sure that he's probably not great at. And what he does is he sits down with himself and he's like, all right, how do I get better at this? Because that's just who he is. And that's who I've tried to become more like, not him specifically, but that sort of person, because that is an approach to life that will set you up for success 10 times out of 10, because you at least are addressing the issues in regards to compatibility, in regards to performance, in regards to your output and your needs. And so, I don't know, guys, I'm just telling you basically a couple things to wrap this shit all up. Find something or someone that you're compatible with. If you can't, find out why you're not compatible and find out what you need to be compatible. Find out if they're willing to do it. Find out if you're willing to do it. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, whether it be your job, boyfriend, girlfriend, sports team, understand that the reason as to why it didn't work. And then you move on with your life and you don't hold any angst or ill will towards that situation in any way. And that is truly how you walk free with your head held high. But I think that's all for today. You guys know where to find us at FTG Pod. Obviously, like, subscribe, do the damn thing. And again, hit me if you guys have any questions on topics, if you guys want to know about anything. I love to make this like as collaborative as possible. We've done it with all the episodes so far with just me. We might be bringing on a guest soon. Be my first guest, so kind of dope. If there's anybody you guys want to see on the pod, let me know. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. If not, just keep doing you. And I appreciate you guys watching.